Welcome into the PHNX Cardinal podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Johnny Venerable here live at the NFL Combine, joined as always by the GM Saul Bookman as we are almost completing our vigorous week of work and attention to detail for you, America, here at PHNX Cardinals. But in all seriousness, it's Friday night and this place is dead.
I've had a lot of serious conversations today. I'm very much looking forward to this goofy one.
Well, this is very serious. This is a very serious show, the most serious show on our network of shows, because today we're going to talk.
Is it though?
Yes, it's very serious.
Have you seen? Have you seen some of the other shows?
No, I don't watch anything but our show.
Like the Coyote Show, like they're so serious. Like Leah is so serious sometimes.
Producer Leah?
Yeah,
she gives me serious vibes when we talk, and I try to have some fun.
She's giving me dirty looks right now.
Yeah, I'm like, Leah, loosen up, hang out. Producer Leah is about to cut this stream short, but here's what we're coming to talk about today. It's in the thumbnail title. News broke this morning via Adam Schefter, among other sources. Amari Cooper is likely to be released from the Dallas Cowboys. They are doing the old Rodney Hudson deal where leaking it out, they're going to cut a player, and then maybe they find a trade partner, although it seems unlikely considering he's due $20 million in guarantees this year. Initial reactions to that, and then we'll talk about Arizona's potential connection to the whole thing.
I just think it's comical that they went after Amari, got Amari, and then they gave Ezekiel this big-ass extension.
Yeah.
And Ezekiel Elliott is done.
He's
done. And he's going to cost you, would you say $30 million if they cut him?
Well, he's
$30 money in dead money.
Yes. And so basically with Zeke's contract, he's due $18 million against the cap this year, 12 of which is guaranteed. So they can't cut him. It's an immovable contract. And so by essentially doing this with Amari, they are picking they're picking Zeke over Amari Cooper. On top of this, it shows you that this deal is probably going to happen. They're closing into a contract with Michael Gallup, who's coming off a torn ACL. So you figure he, Cedric Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, they'll run it back next year. Amari appears like he is done in Dallas. Like that tells me definitively if they're bringing back Gallup, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. But, their loss is somebody's gain.
Could it be the Cardinals game?
I'm saying, though.
So, okay.
I mean, let's just picture this, Johnny. Let's just picture this.
Okay.
All right? There's an offseason. Listen, Steve Keim, as much as people love to hate on him, and mostly for the draft, they mostly hate him because
I think
of the draft.
all for the draft.
Yeah.
His free agent picks have been fantastic.
You can't argue, like, the free agency stuff. Like, they've made some shrewd decisions that have worked out, and they've taken some gambles that some have worked out and some haven't. But they have risked it to get the biscuit, if you will. And, just picture this. Everybody's upset right now because of how this Kyler thing has worked out. But let's just say they extended Kyler and then they added Amari Cooper to the outside opposite D-Hop.
Yeah.
Then they didn't have to draft anybody.
Yep.
And somehow maybe you gave a 4th rounder up for a guy named Saquon Barkley.
Oh,
my God.
Stop. This is not
Would you not be?
This is not fantasy football. This is
Would
real
you
life.
not be on paper one of the best teams in the NFL?
No, you would be.
Oh my God.
You would be the Redskins,
so
the Washington
amazing.
football teams of many,
I'm already
years
there.
ago.
I'm already thinking of it. I'm like on my desert island
Lord help
with
this man.
my 2023 version of the Cardinals ready to hoist that Lombardi trophy. Give it to me.
Okay, so I'm pro Amari Cooper to Arizona, and I'll tell you why. Because I've gone through this all day. You even said, like...
And then they signed J.C. Jackson? Oh, my God.
This is not happening. Please don't take this as all this is going to take place. The Cardinals have no money right now. First and foremost, we need to table set this for those of you who don't know via Over the Cap. They've got just under $1 million. Now, that's going to change. They're going to cut and restructure some guys. I did some maneuvering on the app this morning, and basically if they cut 6 guys who are on the fence, they have like $40 million.
There it is.
Then they can also restructure.
Oh, my God.
DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins last year mentioned he would restructure his contract for Julio Jones. Well, let's welcome Amari, who's younger, more productive than Julio right now. All right, so here's why I am pro Amari Cooper. I think that because you've extended Steve Keim, you are basically allowing him free reign to do these kind of things. I don't think you can trade for Amari Cooper with Steve Keim on the hot seat on a 1-year deal. I think now that Steve Keim has security, this is the kind of move he's able to pull off. And I also think like we need to come to grips with the fact that Steve Keim is just not good at drafting certain positions, wide receiver being one of them, John Brown notwithstanding. Christian Kirk, I put it out there on Twitter, looks like he's going to get upwards of $12-13 million per year. Cardinals aren't touching that, right? For a guy who's never had 1,000-yard season.
What did you say? Projection is 4 for 46?
46, 47, and he's going to get it. He's got 6 to 8 teams interested. Awesome for Christian.
He get that?
Oh, absolutely. He's going to get that.
God.
Steve Keim is not good at drafting receivers. Okay. Outside of John Brown, who is his only 1,000-yard receiver he's drafted, it's been a lot of Hakeem Butlers and Chad Williams and Andy Isabellas. And so he trades for DeAndre Hopkins. Great move. He signs AJ Green. That was a productive move.
Yeah,
you got a lot for the value. I think you just come to grips with, I can't draft this position right now. I'm going to go bring in a superstar. I'm going to bring in a Pro Bowler who, by the way, is only 27. I hear a lot of people in my mention, Saul, like, well, go get Calvin Ridley. He's younger. Actually, they're the same fucking age.
Ooh.
Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper are both 27. They both came from Alabama. They were both first-round picks. And Amari Cooper is the better player, unequivocally. And I think you'd have to give up less or nothing as compared to Atlanta, who probably wanted like maybe a third-round pick. So that is my selling pitch for those. And again, if you're worried about the cap, you think the LA Rams give two shits about the salary cap? They care about winning. Go look at overthecap.com. I'm going to give them a plug here. We're not advertised by them or anything, but it's a great site. Look at the teams with the most available cap space. Jaguars, Miami Dolphins.
Yeah,
it's a lot of bad teams.
The trash organizations.
The teams at the bottom, like the Packers, for instance, have negative $26 million in cap space. I told you this morning, they're going to find a way to give Aaron Rodgers a new deal and Devontae Adams. It is a myth. If the Cardinals want to get serious, they bring in Amari Cooper.
A-Rod is going to get 50.
Yeah.
He's going to get 50 a year, and they're going to somehow, some way, find a way to pay Devontae Adams for sure. Hey, listen, man, Minister Venerable was just preaching there for a second because what he said was absolutely true. They can always find a way to make some money, move some money around to be able to make something like this happen.
Yep.
Because listen, if you go after Amari Cooper, you're not going after him for 1 year, 2 years. You know what I mean? Like you're going after him for multiple years. At least I would say on paper, at least the duration of D-Hop's contract, I would hope.
Yeah.
So that way you have that 1-2 punch for several years.
In the comments, Fitz and Bolden part 2.
Yeah. And then the other part is you have Rondale Moore, who is a burner.
Yeah.
You know, allegedly. We didn't fucking see it this year, but, you know, allegedly he's a burner. And he could take the top off the defense. And then you have, routes galore and no excuse if you are Kyler Murray. And then obviously the other pieces that you might be able to add via the draft or whatever, like who knows? Like it just gives you a lot more freedom and flexibility to do other things on your team. Like, you know, if this should go down before the draft, being able to focus entirely on the defensive and offensive line and shore those two places up, then you're in the ball game. You're talking Super Bowl aspirations once again.
Absolutely. Antoine Wesley, I expect back, 4th receiver to those 3 names you just mentioned. Totally fine with that. Saul and I actually had a front row seat last night to the wide receiver workout on the field. And you guys have all seen it. It's one of the fastest groups in recent memory for this receiver class. That doesn't persuade somebody like Keim from taking a flyer on a day 3 receiver, but then you don't expect as much out of them. And if you hit it out of the park, that's great.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of emphasis if they don't sign a receiver in free agency or trade for one. You know, that pick 23, you know, your boy Christian Watson, for instance, like if they were to take him out of North Dakota State, you're asking a lot of a guy who's played at the 1AA level. I'm not into that, right? I'm not. Sky Moore from, I believe, Western Kentucky, Western Michigan.
Yep.
I'm not into. I can't do the lower tier programs with this organization anymore, and that I hope they go on and they're Hall of Fame players. But with this organization right now, you don't have the luxury of doing that.
Listen. I hear what you're saying, but that would be my only pause on this whole Amari Cooper thing is that do you hedge your bets and say I'm willing to pay this much money when you do have some dudes out there that can play at wide receiver and they've proven it. And you talked about the lower levels, but let's talk about somebody like a Chris Olave, who people have projected to go anywhere from 12 to the second round.
Yeah.
Like it's all over the place with him.
Or they did before
But
yesterday.
then he comes out and runs a 4.29 and you're like, "Oh shit, things have changed."
Yeah.
And his fluidity with catching the ball when they were running the gauntlet, like he was fantastic. You got a lot of different receivers that give you a variety of different things that you could possibly fit into your system. And why can't we draft Amari Cooper and still add somebody like that at the receiver position? Now, you don't need to, but if somebody that you absolutely love in this class is available, go after it.
And no one is saying that they can't, but there's just a lot of resources. I do think you got to exit this offseason with a bona fide number 2 to Hopkins. And that right now is not Rondell Moore. It's just not. Rondell Moore hopefully will be a 1A or a high-end number 2, but we didn't see enough of him last year.
Yeah.
To go into next year and say, well, Rondell's our number 2.
Yeah, listen, I think you're talking about Jelani Woods. Is that what his name was?
Yeah.
From Virginia?
Yeah.
Tight end. His measurables, outstanding. Like the 40 time, all that stuff. His actual on-field performance, not good. Not good.
And it's coincidental. We were talking about DK Metcalf earlier today, and Saul, much to my dismay, was reading DK Metcalf's combine numbers.
4.33 40.
Then we started reminiscing about Andy Isabella, and
Who ran a 4.31 40.
He did. And again, Isabella had very minimal flags, but then you put the two athletes next to each other, and it's a no contest. But it just reinforces my point of, okay, then this is a guy in Steve Keim. Got a lot of flaws, but a lot of positives. Just can't draft receivers, right? And so that doesn't mean he won't hit on one eventually. That's not what I'm saying. But play to your strengths, right? He can draft pass rushers. He drafted Hassan Reddick. He drafted Marcus Golden. He can draft secondary players. He found Budda Baker, Tyron. He can draft running backs. Receiver, it's a little bit of an issue, and so that gives me adequate pause for this class that I think is going to have some uncertainty after assuming some of these top 5 guys go, because I expect Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave to go before the Cardinals. We'll see about your boy Watson.
Well, Landon will probably go before them all.
Yep, absolutely. London Drake of USC, who hasn't worked out. He's coming off injury. And then it's like, okay, a lot of people have mentioned, like, well, just take Jamison Williams. Well, he's coming off an ACL. He would miss a large duration of your offseason. Trevlon Burke, who we both love his tape, did not have a good week, right? And likely will be there from the University of Arkansas at pick 23. So there are a lot of risks right now.
Also, there's quite a bit of depth at the receiver position as well. So we can even talk about a Christian Watson possibly dropping down to that second round to the Cardinals as well. You just never know. So listen, let's go back to Amari Cooper.
Let's do it
for a second. Amari Cooper joining this franchise is yet another shrewd move that would, reinvigorate this fan base. Yeah. I'm telling you what, if Steve Keim doesn't know, if he doesn't know anything, he does know this. He knows how to manipulate a fan base into feeling good about their team again.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
Did it with J.J. Watt last year.
And they've done it year after year. D-Hop the year before. Like there's just so much he knows about trying to make moves. And I think there's a little bit of Keim that feels like, you know what, we will take on what somewhat of an identity of what the Rams did. Like, if you have the capital and you can trade it away for quality assets in return, take the gamble and do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. Like, we know what Amari Cooper brings to the table, and he's a valuable receiver. Not the price range that Dallas was going to have to pay him. Okay, cool. But for the Cardinals, being able to make something happen and really shore up this wide receiver core, and instead of having to find another veteran who's kind of on a 1-year deal like AJ Green, now you have a bona fide number 2.
Yeah.
And more importantly, we saw what happened to this offense when D-Hop went down. If he ever should go down, or one of them go down, you still have a viable option on the opposite side. And that's the thing that I'm going to go back to more than anything else.
Yep.
We saw this disastrous offense this year without D-Hop in the fold. And even Cliff Kingsbury this week talked about he did a piss poor job of manufacturing a game plan without D-Hop involved, understanding that they don't have the assets and the skill players that they might have thought that they had, because dudes always look different. Listen, the Bulls look different when they had Michael Jordan on the team.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You take that dude off, and they all look like bums.
Yep.
Like, that's what happened with this Cardinals team. They took Michael Jordan off, which is D-Hop, and everybody else was like, oh, shit, back to life, back to reality, and you can't do that.
Back to the bottom of the Eastern Conference and back to the bottom of the NFC West if the Cardinals don't get aggressive. I do like the idea of maybe pursuing a trade if you be willing for Dallas to take a day 3 pick, very similar to what you did with Rodney Hudson, because there were rumblings, Saul, that Rodney Hudson wanted to go to Kansas City. That's where he started his career. His allegiances were.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cardinals said, okay, we probably can't court this guy on the open market. Let's trade a 3rd-round pick for him. So it's like, okay, if you're the Cardinals, do you go to Dallas and say, okay, we'll absorb that $20 million this year, and we'll roll the dice next year, but we get him this year, and we'll give up a 4th-round pick? Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Oh man, I don't think so, because $20 million is a lot.
But I feel like you're going to have to pay him close to that yearly on the open market when DeAndre Hopkins is making $25 million this year and $27 next year. So if I'm Amari Cooper, I'm like, okay, I'm not D-Hop, but you got to pay me close to market value of $20 million. So if let's say it's $18 million, somebody's going to give him a 3 or 4 year deal, $18 million per.
18 is okay.
But 1 year commitment at 20 is better than 4 years, 18.
Okay. I mean, that's still a lot of coin for your receiver. That's like almost damn near $50 million for a pair of receivers. And then you might have to pay your franchise quarterback 40. So you got 90 wrapped up in 3 players.
But 3 of your best players. That's what I argue. 3 of your best players.
It'd be tough.
Because Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins are their 2 best players right now, including Budda Baker. Those are their 3 best players on the team. So it's like, oh, yeah, that's who should get the money. That's who we should be paying. Now, what I would say, if they were to get him off of a release in Dallas, this may not mean much to a lot of people. If the Cardinals sign Amari Cooper, if he's cut, they would not owe a compensatory pick or give up a compensatory pick. It would be very similar to what happened with J.J. Watt last year, and this is coming around the same time, so maybe it's POAC. So on the record, pro Amari Cooper or not?
Yes.
$1,000,000%. $1,000,000%, as am I. Now, do we think it's going to be likely? This is a Keim time special. I believe this is something that the Cardinal franchise has been known to do under Keim, but they're going to have a lot of competition. It's a great player, and he hasn't even been released yet. But if you missed the top of the show, it looks like Michael Gallup is returning to Dallas, which means Amari Cooper's days in Big D appear to be numbered. What is not numbered, though, is your time to sign up for UFC 272, which takes place tomorrow when Covington and Masvidal step into the octagon this Saturday. The DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the UFC, has a knockout offer for new customers. Bet just $1 on the main event and get $100 in free bets no matter what. First round knockout, you get paid. Majority draw, you get paid. Double knockout resulting in a no contest. Yep, you guessed it. You get $100 in free bets no matter what the outcome is. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit, withdraw your cash whenever you want. 21 and over, Arizona-only gambling problem. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEPS. New customer only, minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. My DraftKings pick of the week that I love tonight, Philadelphia, off of 3 straight, is hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers getting 7.5. Take Cleveland as the road dog, plus 7.5. I still think Philly wins. The Cavaliers are a good team, and at some point, James Harden's got to have a bad game for Philadelphia.
Well,
right?
James Harden is a fraud anyway, so we can move along.
You know who's not a fraud because he just got paid? It's Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury, who we had an opportunity to connect with here at the NFL Combine, albeit brief. We did congratulate him on his new contract. Has been making the rounds ever since his record. I was going to say his record-setting contract. I don't even know what his contract is.
He kept wanting to talk about Carson Palmer, which I was like, bro, I'm trying to talk about you. Yeah. Why are you talking about Carson Palmer?
He's deflecting.
Because I had seen him at the Senior Bowl in 2001 when I was stationed in the Panhandle, or 2002 when I was stationed in the Panhandle. And I said, I saw you at the Senior Bowl, and he was like, yeah, but Carson Palmer got all the shine. And like, he just kept talking about Carson. I was like, bro, I'm talking about you.
Cliff Kingsbury's in the news, and he was on Pat McAfee's show, who was actually here in Indianapolis as well. Everybody was here earlier this week. And Cliff, as you can imagine, had a lot to say on Kyler Murray.
The relationship is great. And Steve and I literally banked our careers on him. When you take a guy number one and trade away a top 10 pick from the year before, that's never been done. I mean, you're all in, and everybody understands that. And the business is the business, and we're just working through it right now.
What do you think happened when D-Hop got hurt? Because that guy's a fucking
dude, animal. And even
he plays hurt too, right? Like that's the thing.
He is one of the most competitive humans I've ever been around, and he wants the ball every single play, and he's open every single play, just so you know. But when he went out, I think it just changes the way people play you. I probably should have done a better job adjusting the offense, but he's a weapon. Whether it's inside, outside, man, he's a difference maker.
Do you think play calling you've gotten better, managing you've gotten better? Do you think all aspects of coaching gotten better? And what do you think you still need to kind of dial it in, because you are still young in this game?
Yeah, I'd say all of it. You try and get better every day, but the NFL game is drastically different. Just the schematics of it, the size of the field, all these things. I'm still
size of field, hash marks.
Hash marks, the way you can do things, and the tempo. Guys, you can get them going pretty fast, but the pros don't want to go as fast as college
we're
kids,
adults,
right?
dude. Yeah, we're adults.
Like 12-year pros trying to get them to line up in the ball. But no, I think the biggest thing is just continuing to figure out how you can maximize each team each year. You got to just practice plans. You got to do different things. How do you motivate them differently? And each group is vastly different.
A great accent. I mean,
unbelievable.
It is.
So jealous.
It is.
It used to be super heavy, super Texan.
Well, did you have to get rid of that?
No, I think it's just
naturally
living everywhere.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell. It's a little harder from telling an 18-year-old, get your ass on the line and let's run.
Yeah.
Versus like, I don't know, Justin Pugh. Like,
yeah,
it's a far different. Listen, Cliff. This is probably one of the first times we've all gotten an opportunity to see Cliff in this environment.
Yep.
Relaxed, cool, smooth.
Yep.
Like he listen, he's in a good place right now. He just got an extension.
Yeah.
Uncle Cliffy's in the house for a while.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. The thing that I did find refreshing, and I know people like to bag on coaches or bag on people because they know that they either made an error or like they know their deficiencies but won't fix it. I do like the fact that he admitted that he had basically fucked this up.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to fall on the sword.
And he's the only one in the organization that's done that so far.
Yeah, I mean they always say coach speak, like, yeah, we got to do a better job at this, we got to do a better job at this, and we got Cliff has said we got to identify this and we got to get it corrected. Well, what does corrected mean?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever heard what the correction could possibly be.
Yep.
Him being better at coming up with a scheme that's going to identify how to take advantage of defenses when D-Hop is not on the field. And that's something that he could get better at. I think he identified a lot of that stuff. Just looking back at tape for the last 2 months. That makes me feel much better about Cliff Kingsbury and his mindset. And more importantly, his identifying and trying to find ways to be a better coach offensively, because that's what his bread and butter is supposed to be.
It's funny. We had Steve Keim earlier at the Combine talk about, COVID restrictions playing a part in like the lack of development for Xavier Collins and Isaiah Simmons. And a lot of people are mad that, Kyler Murray's not taking accountability, right? I mean, to me, Cliff Kingsbury he's an imperfect coach on the field. We get that. But off the field, he represents the organization well. He's not a joke that I think a lot of people made him out to be coming from Texas Tech.
For a guy who dates some well-known women, he is not in the news very often, and he stays pretty low-key.
Supposedly, again, people roll their eyes at this. Incredibly hard worker. He's well respected, I know, within the Cardinal organization. Clearly, he got this extension after the team went 5-1 down the stretch. And you may argue, well, this has more to do about the Cardinals and their standards. But Michael Bidwell looks at Cliff Kingsbury as a huge asset.
I have heard on multiple occasions that he will be the first one in the building and the last one to leave.
Yeah.
Sometimes so much so that Michael Bidwell himself has said, like, Cliff, go home.
Yeah.
Like, this can wait till the morning.
You're done.
And that's great. And listen, I think there's also something to be said here. I think everybody, or at least, most people, have gotten into positions right now that maybe they felt like they desperately wanted.
Yep.
But then when they got them, they felt like maybe they not in over their head, but maybe they felt like a little bit of a imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that Cliff Kingsbury at some point didn't feel that
Yeah.
being in the NFL, hearing everything that he was being told, hearing guys like Stephen A. Smith talking about how he doesn't deserve to be an NFL head coach, and all these things. And that's why he works as hard as he does, is because he wants to overcome that. He wants to, it's almost a form of compensation. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to grind until I fucking die to prove that I belong here. And whether you like him or not, whether you think he's been efficient or not, and there's certainly been opportunities where that have shown that he was not prepared for a certain situation, you can't knock the work ethic, and you hope that at some point there's a corner that will be turned, and all that hard work will pay off, especially for this organization.
One of the biggest pushbacks that he got, that he continues to receive, is that he had Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech at the collegiate level, and they didn't win anything, right? And he spoke on that on Pat McAfee.
Patrick, just watching him year in, year out, from when we got him at Texas Tech to where he is now, the leadership, the work ethic, the preparation is unbelievable how it's developed. And that's the biggest thing I see. You watch those guys on his team and they die for him. You know, the way they pick him up if he's ever on the ground, the way they play for him. But, you know, when he was our quarterback, we did average about 45 points a game. We were still doing our thing. Don't get it twisted. But, yeah, he's fantastic, man. I'm, you know, every time I get a chance to watch them, it's just you never know what you're going to see.
Did you know?
Listen,
that's always been my defense. Is like, he was hired for his offensive prowess. That's it. He probably could have done a better job putting together a defensive staff, recruiting defensive players at Texas Tech. Texas Tech in the Big 12 has never been known for defense, for what it's worth. Nobody in the Big 12 is known for defense.
Yeah.
And so everybody with common sense, in my opinion, knew what this was when they hired him. You were trying to take advantage of the Sean McVays of the world, these young offensive minds, and Steve Keim even said as much. He doesn't know defense to a great extent. He doesn't have defensive contacts. Let's bring in Vance Joseph. And Vance Joseph, in part, wanted this Cardinal job because Cliff Kingsbury has been hands-off with the defense. And so he's come to Arizona, and yes, outside of the collapses at the end of the season, they have been incredibly efficient offensively, and that's what he did at Texas Tech.
I think people just want more.
Yeah.
You know, like they want Chiefs level of offensive production, and that's what they thought they were going to get. And then you get Kyler in the fold, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, you got to at least average 30 a game or 35 a game. You know, like people are always going to want more. And Cliff is learning that it's not going to be as easy as it was in college. You can't put up 45 points a game in the NFL. It just doesn't happen. You have too many elite players, too many smart coaches, and he's adjusting to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll work out here soon, and preferably this season, because listen, we've been saying they have improved every single year under Cliff Kingsbury, and they have. But you know, there's a certain threshold that you get to, and you know, going from 11 to 14. That would be something.
Yeah,
that would be something, and I don't know if it's in the cards.
Good hell.
That
pun right there makes me want to transition to a new topic of discussion. But before we do that, go check out gophnx.com. Saul and I are here at the Combine for just one more day, but you're going to get exclusive access for the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas next week. We're sending the crew, Shane and company, to that tournament. They're going to have a tremendous insight you can only get at gophnx.com.
And they just had Marion Jackson on their show today in preparation for next week. Hey, Devils, a sleeper pick in the Pac-12 tourney.
And you're saying that as somebody who staunchly hates that program, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're going to get blasted by Arizona. Don't get me wrong, if they have to match up with them.
In the finals.
Gotcha. If Arizona does not make it to the final, ASU might be the team to pick because they are hot right now.
You would love to see it. You also love to see the merchandise that we've got going on at the PHNX merchandise locker. Go check it out. We've got great cards gear. If you want to load up for the eventual NCAA tournament, go and check out the U of A gear. We'll see if the Sun Devils make the tournament. That would certainly be something. But you can find all that and more at gophnx.com. Become a member at just under $60 for the year. You get a free T-shirt. You want to dip your toe in, it's 50 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent months. You can get my exclusive article that just dropped or will be dropping in a matter of hours pertaining to rumblings that I'm hearing here at the NFL Scouting Combine off of the field as it relates to Christian Kirk, Hassan Reddick, among others. You can check that out at gophnx.com. azhealth.gov. All right, Saul. So we have been here. We've seen it all. We've done it all. We've got a couple favorites.
We still haven't done the bench yet.
We have not. They won't let me go up there and tear
I'm going up there.
It's a liability thing. I asked you if you would be able to bench 225 once, and you said no.
No.
I would maybe able to do it arching my back and tilting myself, which will not count. So I would say I can't do it at all.
No, you have to lock it out. You have to lock out every single time. You got to lock out.
So our boy from Florida, Damian Pierce, who is quickly becoming my favorite prospect here because he's freaking hilarious, put on a show today at the bench press. Here's a little bit of a preview.
Lock that up! Lock that up! I got 21 reps.
If you didn't make out what he said when he was locking out his final completed rep, the strength and conditioning coach was about to pick up the bar, and he said, and I quote, "Don't touch that bitch." and then when he came back down to the chest and he tried to go back up and he got stuck, he said, "Come get that bitch." I mean, listen, that was the highlight of the day. But we saw not a lot of dudes. There was like 7 guys that actually benched out of like the 30 running backs that were here. That's been a theme here. Yesterday, wide receivers, only 2 of them lifted.
Yeah.
Today, offensive linemen, only half of them lifted. Guys are preferring not to do that before they go work out indoors at the field for good reason.
There's some fear that the bench press could be numbered here at the Combine for so many people that opting out of it. It still, I think, has tremendous value for the offensive linemen and defensive linemen. And we saw that this morning. But, yeah, the kid from, I think, Michigan, Hassan Harris?
No. Ding it. Anyway.
He went to Michigan. Go look him up. He's 6'2", senior. He bench pressed.
Hassan Haskins,
not related to Dwayne Haskins. Bench press 225 27 times.
Listen, when you see Hassan Haskins in person, he's a taller kid. He's 6'2".
Yeah.
But physically, he did not look the part as like the other guys. The other guys had, they were more physically built, I think you could say.
Yeah.
He has longer arms, and my guy just murdered it on the bench today.
I mean, all these guys are supremely gifted specimens, and for somebody like Damian, who's 5'9", shorter arms like your boy here, to see Hassan do that at almost 6'2", it was unbelievable. Jalen, did you guys talk to any of the D linemen this morning? Has Devontae Wyatt, Winfrey, I missed the last comment, Travis Jones met with the Cards? We did not have an opportunity to chat. We were checking into our new hotel, but I'll look into that for you, Jalen. We know that they've met with they've probably met with them. They've met with a number of offensive linemen. We think that this class is going to be heavy for the Cardinals on offensive and defensive linemen for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I listen. This defensive line class has got me really excited. There's a lot of guys out there that we've kind of kept our eye on.
Yeah.
There's some sleeper picks in later rounds that I think they can get their hands on, and we'll give you all that stuff. Probably if not tomorrow, definitely by Monday next week. So.
But I want to talk a little bit more about Damian Pierce real quickly, because he's got some Marshawn Lynch vibes, not necessarily the way he plays, but maybe. And we'll show you a clip here in a second. But just the way he carries himself, how he handles himself at the podium. By the way, he was the fastest player via GPS data at the Senior Bowl. He's 5'9". He's about 215. He was in a split backfield in Florida. So he's somebody that maybe keep an eye on in the 4th round, maybe the 3rd round. Had the 4th highest elusive rate among running back prospects. He averaged almost 7 yards per carry against Georgia's front. So he's legit. And he also did this last fall.
Hands it off to Pierce. Great cutback. Pierce lost his hat, but not his mind. Touchdown. But there's a flag down. The play is dead whenever Damian Pierce's helmet comes off. But look at that emotion that he's showing right there.
Cardinals could use some of that. I'm saying, man.
First of all, his helmet came off and the whistle blew. And my man still was like, nah, I don't care. I'm going to try and run somebody over.
That's right.
And he actually he put his head down to try and hit somebody and got hit in the head, and he did not care. My guy was pumped up. Plus, it was the rivalry game playing against Florida State. F the Knowles. I'm sure he was thinking in his head.
We need some attitude in this draft class, man. I don't care if it's wide receiver, offensive, or defensive line.
That's my thing. Is like I want to draft some dudes that can absolutely play, but also have an edge to them. Trevor Penning, my guy, said that he referred to himself as a prick.
Yeah,
and
we need some.
And listen, you got to be an asshole out there every now and then. And guys like Aaron Donald and guys like Von Miller, they basically just think, F you, I'm going to run you over. And you have to have dudes that are willing to embarrass themselves out there.
I think the Cardinals are probably lacking that most on the defensive line outside of J.J. Watt. And that's not a knock on somebody like Zach Allen. But, the defensive tackles they have, they're average starters, right? And so we do not have that young disruptor that a lot of teams have that it takes to win a championship. And so until they get that piece, and I believe great teams don't let that player hit free agency, they're going to have to find it in the draft. They're going to have to spend a premium draft pick, whether it's this year or next year, first, second, third round, on a kid that's got a toughness and attitude with a high motor. Like what we love about Watt and peak Calais Campbell and peak Darnell Dockett is their motor didn't stop. They were in the backfield. They were in the trenches, mucking things up. The Cardinals they were so finesse on both sides of the ball. And offensively, you can be finesse and still score. Defensively, it was that bend and don't break approach. And the minute they stopped getting turnovers, Saul, last year, and teams like the Colts exposed them, to me, that just – you have to reinforce that front. Now, I believe a big part of that is getting Zaven Collins involved because I think he's got the kind of nastiness and toughness you need. He's not perfect. He's going to make mistakes. But, he's 6'4.5". He's 260 pounds. Like, get him in the lineup. But defensive line has to be a priority.
It is a priority. But like I said, going back to the offensive side of the ball, listen, I understand the defensive line is a priority. You got to stop the run. You need some maulers up there, especially if you can't find an edge rusher, if you lose Chandler Jones. You need somebody to kind of free things up on the perimeter by soaking things up in the middle. But on the offensive side of the ball, listen, we got this clip of Rashad Penny. Or I'm sorry, Rashad Penny. I always want to say Rashad Penny.
Pierce.
Rashad White.
Okay.
You need an offensive lineman to free him up. Leah, Rashad White.
Can we have Rashad White?
The Cardinals, obviously, they've been, a lot. I played 2 years here at Arizona State, 15 games the past 2 years, so I know they've been very successful, especially, starting out in the beginning of the season. Would I like to stay in the Valley? I like Arizona a lot, so, I wouldn't mind that, of course, but honestly, I'll just say, I say they're a pretty good team. Got great coaching staff, I think. And yes, of course, I have spoken with them.
Rashad White is a guy that I feel like is going to be a game changer for somebody like the Cardinals, maybe the Bills.
Yeah.
And I've been excited to see his growth over the last 2 years, mainly this last season, see what he can do. I feel like he's a more physical, maybe not a more physical version of Eno Benjamin, but he's definitely a more elusive version of Eno Benjamin, which would be fun.
Jalen says in the comments that 3 technique that can penetrate and cause havoc are the unicorns in the NFL. The only way you get one of those is you find one in the draft and you don't let him go. It's spot on. Couldn't say it any better myself. That is something this team has tried to do. They tried to draft Derek Brown. They wanted Quinnen Williams. They're looking for we talked about with Max Starks yesterday. They're looking for an SEC defensive tackle.
Quinnen Williams also, by the way, is a name to keep an eye out for.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals love him. They wanted to get him before. Didn't work out, but the Jets are looking to possibly trade him in the offseason as well.
Robert Saleh, does he fit his defense? Doesn't look like it. Wasn't particularly great last year. I could see a deal like that. Supposedly somebody like I believe his name is Gino. Who's the kid, the defensive tackle from Atlanta that went to Georgia? I can't remember. Guys, help me in the comments. Teddy Jenkins says Eric Swan also never stopped. Yeah. The Cardinals, I think, 3 biggest needs right now. Defensive lineman, either D tackle or pass rusher, assuming they can't bring back Chandler Jones or Hassan Reddick. Number 2 wide receiver. And then I would say interior offensive lineman. I'm not putting corner in that big 3 because I watched Vance Joseph's defense last year, and I'm going to give Vance credit here. Take Robert Alford and Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy and make it work. And they were a really good unit. And Jalen Thompson is interchangeable, as is Budda Baker. I'm not spending the 23rd overall pick on a corner that's not going to play.
What do you think about this dream scenario?
Okay.
And we kind of went over this earlier today. You sign J.C. Jackson.
Okay.
Somehow you're able to make it work with Amari Cooper in the trade.
Okay.
And somehow you're able to bring in a quality running back to supplement this offense.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a win in the offseason?
Yeah, I
but
think so.
You don't address the defensive line.
Yeah, because I think that they would say we have J.J. Watt for that, and we're paying J.J. Watt a premium. And if it's only for a year, he comes off the books next year, then we'll address it. I could see that. I could see if the board doesn't fall to them. Remember, Zach Allen played well at the end of last year. They drafted 2 fourth-round defensive tackles that are going to make the team next year. They were picked in the 4th round 2 years ago, Rashad Lawrence and Lecky Fotu. I think that they'll sign a probably tier 3 defensive lineman in free agency, but there's nobody of note that you can sign on the defensive line that's going to help you. And I do think outside of a high draft pick, I could see that scenario. They have to find an edge rusher, though. They cannot let Chandler Jones go and strike out on Hassan Reddick and then just say, Devon Kennard, here you go. I will vomit in my mouth if that happens. They will reap the benefit of that in the worst possible way, where other teams will have all day to throw. You have to get an edge rusher. I don't care if you want to take an edge rusher at pick 23. Awesome. But you know what, Saul? That kid better damn play every snap. He better be a starter. That's why I just feel like this is the offseason outside of free agency. Free agency is its own animal. When they sign players in free agency, they play, even for Vance Joseph. This draft, the first couple picks need to be offense. They need to be offense because they have not spent enough premium picks on offense. So I'm done giving Vance Joseph all these premium draft resources. I'm just done doing it.
I just feel like somebody's going to drop, man. Somebody's going to drop to the Cardinals at 23.
What position?
I feel like defensively, somebody's going to drop to them that's a premium interior off or defensive lineman. I just but
that's fine.
Also on top of that, though, like listen, Malik Willis is skyrocketing up the boards to the point where it looks like he could very legit go to the Lions or the Giants in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like that's a legit reality. And because of that, other guys start dropping.
Yeah.
Malik Willis wasn't even a 1st-round pick before we got to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
And now he's in the top.
And then on the flip side, Kenny Pickett, who most people felt was a 1st-round pick. I mean,
he's going to be a 1st-round pick.
You didn't know.
Yes, he's still going to be a 1st-round pick because teams are stupid.
We will make a bet before that. I think he's going to fall out of the first.
Hands.
His hands are super tiny.
Super small hands.
His arm's fine. He played in the ACC. He was a 4-year starter and didn't really pop until this year. I think teams are wise.
I wish I had like a giant-sized football that I could play around with just to show you how small.
Small.
Now, like every time I see Kenny Pickett's hands inside those gloves, I keep thinking about that hamburger meme, that Burger King meme. My hands look so small.
He did play with gloves. What we looked up at Pittsburgh. Tyler Simmons, please don't draft defense. I'm with you, Tyler. Hey Vance, you dug your grave. Okay, we're gonna trade Jordan Hicks, or we're gonna try to save a little coin here. Play the fucking kids.
Oh, in a dream scenario, then who's the one player that you want them to take
at 23?
If you had to pick right now at 23, who are the Cardinals taking? Not who you think they'll take, who you want them to
Chris
take.
Olave. If they sign Amari Cooper or is really the only wide receiver I want in free agency. If they did not address it, Chris Olave. If they get Amari Cooper, like Lindenbaum to play guard, or Charles Cross or somebody like that, an offensive lineman. There's no tight end I'm taking in the 1st round. It's going to be I would want it to be a wide receiver from a Power 5 school, preferably Ohio State, Arkansas, somebody like that. Not your boy. And I want Christian Watson to have a great NFL career. He looked fantastic yesterday. But you told me, he didn't dominate the Senior Bowl, but you got freaking Joe Schmo throwing to him, a bunch of guys who are going to be undrafted free agents.
Guys with small hands throwing balls to him.
Right. I can't risk another small school guy high in the draft. You want to take a flyer on a guy on day 3? Awesome. Do that. John Brown was almost the last pick of the 3rd round. Awesome. Do that. I can't take an Isabella in the 2nd round out of UMass, right? Tulsa, Temple, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, powers in the college program with ready-made NFL players is what I'm looking for at pick 23. Iowa produces all-pro offensive linemen every year. I'm over it. The kid from Penn State, the kid from Purdue, They're all. I mean, those have had good programs in recent years. They play in real conferences. No more. And I'm almost. You know what? I'm a little tempted. I'm a little afraid with Drake London because the Pac-12 has been so bad. And I'm getting Michael Floyd vibes from him where it's just he's going to have a nice start to his career and then just really never put it together. That scares me too. You know who produces every year? Like, when's the last time an Ohio State skill player busted outside of Dwayne Haskins, but he played quarterback? Like, they all produce. They all come in and play well. That program, both those guys are going to go before 23. Garrett Wilson's going to go top 10. I think if, Henry Ruggs' situation off the field notwithstanding, I think Chris Olave is a better prospect than Henry Ruggs. He's a better route runner. And Henry Ruggs went like 12th. He was like the first receiver drafted in that draft. So I'm just saying, like, give me Powers 5 schools, all-star players that have a role that we know what to do with. Not tweeners from small schools, and we don't play them. Like, can you think of a worse combination than that for this organization? We're going to take a kid who went to a non-Power 5 school. He doesn't have a position, and we're also not going to play him, and he was the 16th pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That is anti how you build your team. How about take a kid who is a plug-and-play starter from a perennial power program? I'll include Michigan in that, too, because they got a bunch of good players this year, and he's going to play a lot. Like, it's not hard. I love Keim. He's going to crush it in free agency this month. You know he's going to make like 4 or 5 moves. You're going to be like, hell yeah, Keim is back. Thank God we re-signed him. And then we get to the draft, and it's just like, what, my man, what are you doing? You know what you should do, though?
Wait. I asked you, who would you pick? And
Chris
you
Olave.
went on like a 4-minute
Chris Olave.
like spiel on like the
people
theory of what you think is going to happen. Like, whoa, what just happened?
See, people, Tasker loves it. I want Alabama, Ohio State, LSU. Yeah, winning programs.
I'm on board with that.
5-star recruits.
I'm on board with that. I am. But again, like, I'm a Chris Olave guy too. If we could get Chris Olave at 23, that'd be fantastic. I don't think it's going to happen either.
Treylon Burke, though.
But I disagree because I do like Christian Watson. I do. Listen, he's 6'4" and runs a sub 4. What was it? 4.26? 4.26 yesterday. He runs a 4.26 yesterday.
I think that got revised today, though. Somebody was fucking with the stopwatch.
It was still sub 4.35.
Remember, Hakeem Butler was fast and tall.
Oh, Hakeem Butler was trash.
No, he had better college highlights than your boy.
Than Christian Watson? Bro, come on.
No more small school players.
I know you hate small school players, but you can't stop the Cincinnati Bearcats from thriving in this fucking draft. I'll tell you that much right now.
Barf. Children 5 or older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID. The COVID-19 vaccine can reduce the risk of being hospitalized or dying from the disease. It's safe, free, and highly effective, and vaccines are available.
If Drake London is there, would you take him?
I don't know.
At 23?
Visit azhealth.gov/findvaccine for a location nearest to you. So when was the last time the Cardinals took a player from USC that panned out?
Say that again?
When was the last time the Cardinals took a player from that program, USC, and it's panned out?
Oh, man. Oh, Deuce Latui.
Yeah, that's probably it. Was he and Leinart went back to back? That was great.
Yeah.
They were just like,
I forgot about Leinart.
R.I.P. What's his name? Former Arizona coach.
That coached that team?
Yeah.
Oh, Wisenhunt.
No.
Oh, the one before that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dennis Green.
Yeah, R.I.P. Dennis Green, who was just like, I'm just going to draft.
He was a great talent evaluator,
He was.
too.
He drafted Dockett and Fitzgerald and Dansby.
I wonder what would have happened if Dennis Green stayed one more year. Would he have gotten the most out of Leinart?
No, Leinart was awful. I think he would have saw what Wisenhunt saw.
I don't think Leinart was all that bad, though. Was he?
Why couldn't he be good for anybody else?
Yeah.
Hey, I know Deuce Latui. My grandpa coached him at Mesa High. That's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. There you go, Josh.
From Indy. Just curious what places you guys have eaten at.
Ooh, we went to St. Elmo's. Where else did we go?
Well, we went to Prime 47, not to eat, but to mingle. Yeah.
And we haven't been back for 2 days since because Mama's boy over here just can't hang for 2 nights in a row back to back. So we had to take 2 nights off.
No.
And I'm trying to go back again tonight.
Nah.
I'm going back tonight.
I think I'm going to go see the Batman.
He's gonna go see the Batman. I'm gonna go hang out with Cliff at the bar.
We went to PHNX last night for 45 minutes. So Saul can get some shrimp
because that was the only place that was open.
That's true, and you had to have reservations elsewhere. We had stadium food at the Combine last night because we ended up staying much longer than we thought.
We got to talk about that stadium too. By the way,
sure, yeah.
Listen, Johnny is bagged on State Farm Stadium, saying they need to.
No,
they're fine. You have bagged on it. You said they need to increase the fan experience. It's just not a great. It's not great. This Lucas Oil Stadium is gorgeous.
Yeah,
it is gorgeous inside. It is gorgeous. I did not expect to see what I saw, and it's connected to the convention center, which is like 85 square miles.
Don't take the Combine from Indy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, they got to keep it here. Like, I know people want to go see it in LA. No, keep it here. It's the intimacy of all this and all the prospects being available right here in front of you. It's the one place in the world where you can go see high-level coaches and players in the same place at the same time and not feel like you need to be escorted around by security.
If you take the Combine out of Indianapolis, guys who look like me will have no access in places like LA or Dallas.
Could you imagine us trying to get into Nobu?
Yeah, I was trying to roll up to the club to meet Cliff or whomever. That ain't gonna happen. Everything will be walled off, limited access. If you want your local media, and we're digital media, so we're hip and cool, to have access, you got to hope it stays in Indy. This is a fantastic setup.
I don't want to fight like Kendall Jenner to try and get into a restaurant. Like, that's not happening.
No.
There's no way I'm going to win that battle. I got to get a hookup.
This convention center, there's people. It's the most incredible access.
There's like 2 bars that everybody goes to. When I say everybody, I mean coaches.
So let's tell them who we saw. So we saw Matt LaFleur. We saw Nathaniel Hackett, new head coach of the Denver Broncos.
McDaniel.
I shook Mike McDaniel's hand, and then he went on Pat McAfee today and said that he thinks he's going to get sick because he's been shaking people's hands a lot. And I'm like, is that about me, Mike?
I didn't shake his hand.
I did.
I just said, hey, you're an interracial sensation like I am. And he's like, oh, my God, why do people sleep on us? It was funny, hilarious.
Because a month ago, I saw that the Niners were going to get a comp pick for him, and I sent it to Saul. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, you couldn't believe it. I didn't know he was interracial.
I had no idea. I did not know that he was interracial.
I thought we were going to get a comp pick for Vance Joseph. That never happened. So we saw them, and then, just everywhere. It's been fantastic. Our experience has been great. We hope you've enjoyed it. Are we done for the week, or what are we doing?
We have one special little episode that we'll be dropping tomorrow. Yep. That will be audio only. Monday, we will not have anything going on because, Johnny's got to get his rest, and so do I.
No, you said we.
We'd like to see our families and hang out with them for a little bit, just for a day. That's all we're asking.
Hey, man, this 2-man crew has been grinding the hell out of this Combine. Hopefully, you've enjoyed our coverage. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. We will become a fixture here at the NFL Combine for many years to come. And I'll be honest with you, respect to everybody locally in Arizona, media-wise. We're the only people here doing this shit.
The only ones here at the Combine. The only ones talking to people behind the scenes.
I ask every prospect I can if they've met with the Cardinals, and I tweet it out. Nobody else is doing that.
Nobody.
And I do it for you. I do it for this man. PHNX Cardinals live from the Combine. Signing off one last time as I go to the Batman. See you next week.
See you at the club.